and welcome to the very first Vyper Podcast. I am Sam.
I'm Dayne.
So we are going to sort of go through the timeline of Vyper, but Dayne, give me just a brief summary what you want to do with this podcast.
Yeah, so kind of like the layout I would like to do is what I was just telling Alex. First of all, the problem that I ran into when I was starting up was there is a ton of entrepreneur podcasts out there. Andy Frisella's, you have, who's that, Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, but they're telling you their story when they've already made it. And they leave out a lot of the super informative crumbs that would have helped me in the starting days that I wish I knew. So that's what I want to use this podcast for is we're only 2.5 years in, and I remember everything that we've gone through and how we started. And I want to talk about those things that people miss out. The super informative stuff. Mm-hmm. What did we go through in the beginning days? When did we start bringing employees on? How did we pay for them? Did we pay them?
That's good because I got all that stuff written down across 3 pages of notes, and this is just for the early days.
Beautiful.
So, and when I say early days, we're talking early days.
Yeah, like before Vyper.
So, all right, we'll start off with the easiest possible question off the bat. So how did Vyper start?
I kind of want to take it before that.
Before that?
I want to take it like pre-Vyper to like the startup days. So there's like projects that I've worked on that
So I've actually got that question on here too, which is like, so what was the like pre-Vyper? What was pre-Vyper Dayne doing?
So first I'll give you guys a little background of like where I'm at now. 27 years old, went to UW Oshkosh for college, graduated in 2018. And while I was in college, I actually had a few different app projects that I worked on. So the first one being was called Share. So it's called Share app. And this was like the summer going into college. And I had this idea of like combining all social media apps into one app. And it wasn't for really any idea behind it. Like, I'm like, that'd be so sick to have all these social media apps into one app. And this was like, what year was this? I'd say 2014 or 15.
Okay.
And I presented the idea to my dad, and he loved it. And he's like, this is cool. Like, and you're watching Social Network and stuff like this. You ever watch that movie?
Yep.
You're like, holy shit, this could be the next Facebook. And he's like, find a development company, and to start developing it, because obviously I didn't know how to do it and I didn't want to go to school for it. So I found this company in Texas, and the first payment, they're like, yeah, we can do it for $20,000. Okay. 17 years old, and went to my dad like, hey, it's gonna be $20,000. And I remember it vividly. He's like, I'll help you out, but either you're doing this or you're going to college. And I'm like, shit. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
So obviously we went with the app project. I'm like, you never know. Like, Let's take a risk. I don't really want to go to college, so let's see if this works. And if it doesn't, we'll figure out what happens. So he invested half of it, $10,000, and I invested the other half. So think of that right out of the gate. You're 17 years old, taking $10,000 from your dad and $10,000 of your own money. You're $20K deep into this project already. You have no idea what's going to happen. And long story short, like, the project was taking long and it wasn't getting anywhere. And in order to make money to pay for this thing, I worked up north with my buddy, and we waitered and bartended to make meets end. And then at the end of the day, so we would work from like noon to like 9 p.m. And end of the day, we would go back home. He would either go work out, and I would go back home and go to work. So it was like always working on things no matter what time of day it was for this like project that you have no idea what it's even for.
So, and how did the app turn out?
It didn't work out.
No?
So no. First failure. So like that's what I want to talk about is like these, it wasn't just Vyper came in and it's like full steam ahead.
No, I know. That's what I'm asking
literally.
about.
So like it failed. So
it failed, like just tanked, all $20K down the toilet, gone, nothing in return.
Yeah.
No money back from this dev team at all.
They went bankrupt.
Company
went bankrupt. And obviously now I have to owe my dad back that money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And plus I want to go to college.
Yeah.
So I bartended even more, and in the summer up in Sturgeon Bay, you've been there. And in the wintertime, I worked at my dad's facility as a machine operator,
Mm-hmm.
just to make meets end to pay him back and to get money for college. But yeah, app didn't work out at all. And now you're 17 years old. All your friends are going to college, and you apply to UWO, you get accepted, but you're still in debt, and pretty much took it from there.
Wow.
You
So,
know?
okay. So you know, the app goes belly up, right? What are some things you learned from it off the bat? Like, is there anything you could have done, or was that scenario entirely on the dev company?
Well, first of all, is it like I was premature into business. Like I had no idea about anything. Literally, I thought that you could just develop an app, put it on the app store, and start making money right away. Like there was no business plan behind it. There was literally nothing. So that was the first mistake.
It's just like my lemonade stand.
Yeah, right. Inexperience. You
Yeah.
don't have any experience. And then, but I would say the key takeaway of that is like, which I'm sure we'll talk about a lot in like future podcasts. When you're working on something, you don't like all that time I put in on it, like designing the app, putting the concept behind it, building a business plan for it. In those times, in those early days, you will feel like everything you're doing, you don't know what you're doing it for, or you don't see a result for it. But all that's doing is cultivating like that knowledge and that skill and that experience for the future. And like that's the key takeaway of that.
So it's pretty important to go and try something, even if regardless of if you fail.
Absolutely. You have to go and do the things that like you don't see a return for over and over and over and over again.
I can absolutely attest to that.
Yeah, you have experience with it with video side of things.
Yeah.
You know, all the projects that you do that you spend countless hours on and you end up finishing
have to
it.
screw up a handful or miss deadlines on some or whatever it might be in order to learn that, like, if you want to get better, or you want to get good, you want to get to that next level, like you have to,
100%.
like figure it out.
100%. So then that was, I'd say, to give people a timeline, that was 2014-ish,
Okay.
17, 18 years old maybe. And that was a year going into college.
Okay.
So
real quick, just because I'm curious, like how fast was that turnover rate between like, all right, dev company, like let's do it, gun ho, and then it was like, oh yeah, that's dead.
probably like, I'd say a year. It was
a year of
so
time. Yeah.
extremely long replies. It would take weeks to hear back from them. Every time they would update us, it would be like, meh, like no advancements. The design sucks still. It was super shady. Like I think we got robbed.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like
Okay.
we're stupid. I didn't do my research. Then they went bankrupt. You try to search them and they're gone.
Yeah.
You try to email them. You get a kickback saying that the email is no longer. You try to call them. Phone's been disconnected. And you didn't have their address or location. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You have to eat it.
Yeah.
There's truly nothing you can do at that position to try to get your money back. You're
That
fucked.
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 2014, 17 years old, have at least one failure under the belt.
Nice.
So it's like, right.
Good start.
But you need those,
Yeah.
because you learn a lot of stuff from it. So like all this stuff cultivated and helped Vyper in some way, shape, or form for the future.
Okay.
So we're going into college. Got accepted to UW Oshkosh because it's where a lot of my friends were going, and Madison was kind of liberal. Didn't really want to go to Madison. So then went to UW Oshkosh, and I want to kind of touch base on college.
Sure. I actually don't have any college experience. So, I mean, I went to a tech school, which I wouldn't qualify as like a formal education.
But it is. Tech school is 100%. That's
Okay.
what I have in here. So like, if you go to college, that's fine, but understand the reason why you're going. If you're just going to party and like hang out with friends, I would definitely sit down and reconsider and evaluate why you're actually going there. Because as you'll find out I soon realized that pretty quickly because that's what I went there for, and I quickly switched and was like, holy shit, this isn't for me. Like, I need to get my stuff together. But tech colleges, I think, are a great opportunity, especially now.
I would agree. I think, especially for the for some of the blue collar crafts, I think are way better.
Yeah,
it's like a really good option.
Like a lineman.
Yeah,
like a lineman, 100%. Electricians, truck drivers. Nobody's going for that stuff anymore.
They should be.
Yeah, right. So
because they pay well and they're needed.
You could get a lineman degree in 2 to 3 years, and right out of college you're making 60, 70 grand starting. Some of those linemen are now.
Told me that. I might not have been doing video.
Well, then you're on call on a weekend at 2 a.m. on Saturday. But still, whatever. I mean, it's
part of the job.
Better than going to school for 8 years and then having $250K in debt. But so I went to college. Pretty much I went there to kind of have fun. I feel like that's what everybody kind of does because you're in high school. You don't have any obligations. You know, you still live with your parents. You don't have a job, so you just kind of go with the flow, which was fine. Went to college and just let it all out. You know, freshman year, you go there, party, and have fun, and which I'm grateful for because then I didn't continue to do it the rest of my life. And I just got it out that 1 year. So all freshman year, I still had
wild Dayne.
Yeah, literally, just whatever, let it out. But that helped me quickly discover what I really wanted, and I snapped out of it immediately. I'd say towards the end of freshman year is when it switched, where I'm like, I don't want to do this. Every night's the same. I don't have any money, but I'm going out spending it like I do, and I'm trying to impress people that I really don't care about or care what they think about me. So right there, typically you can go one of two ways. You can keep going and keep partying, or you can take a step back and be like, okay, this isn't what I want to do. And that's what I did. So I'm I pulled back. Thankfully, I still had all the code from Share, from the app. They sent it over. Long story short, is garbage still. But I still had the code, and what I did was I found this local developer in Appleton that I met through some networking classes or courses or entrepreneur classes.
Okay.
And which is super rare around here. I mean, Wisconsin, there's not much developers are
pretty tough
techie.
Sometimes.
Yeah. So found him, built a relationship with him and his team, and gave them the code. They're like, it's workable. It's gonna cost a lot of money. But I still had this project and this passion for it. And we kind of tweaked the idea, and it switched from Share app to something called Pixie, Pyxsee. And that was my first mistake of that name.
Yeah.
How do you spell that? So I'm like, hey, Sam, download Pixie. You're like, how the fuck do you spell that?
Yeah.
Yep. So that was a huge mistake there. So this is sophomore year, beginning of sophomore year. I didn't want to drink anymore. I didn't have any money. I was just kind of floating through life. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine in all my classes, going for finance and IT. But I'm like, there's got to be something more. And I still had that entrepreneur spirit from my dad because he gave me that opportunity to taste what being your own boss and doing your own project is like. So still had the app, built a relationship with this development team, and they gave me a bill for what they think it's going to be. And it's $40,000 to revamp the entire thing. They come with this big plan of hey, this is how we can tweak it.
Yeah.
Let's move into the parental side of things.
Yeah.
So they're all apps in one. And what this app will do is track how much time you're spending on social media. And I'm like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. This is a good idea, because I would go into these big lecture halls and you have the teacher teaching and you have all these kids just like this. Before class, it's silent. Kids like this texting when I'm like, you have 150 kids next to you. Why are you guys not talking?
Yeah.
Everyone's just spending all this. This is right when social media was coming up. So this could be a great app to turn into the parental side of things and personal self-control. So we renamed it Pixie. Now the whole concept behind it would be controlling your social media usage, and the monetization side of it was parents could pay to track their kids' time.
Okay.
So they presented this idea, and I'm like, that's a great idea. And again, I didn't want to party or anything. So I started doing something called pitch competitions. So like you can go, they had these entrepreneur pitch competitions at school where you could present in front of judges. So there'd be like 3 to 4 judges. You'd present your idea with a whole PowerPoint pitch in front of anywhere from like 25 to 100 people.
Okay. And
you would go against other competitors. And if the judges voted that you had the most promising business idea, then you'd win the suit. And I'm like, and it's all a grant too, so you can write that all off.
Yeah.
And you get money without having to give up any equity. So once I found that, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna invest all of my time and energy in designing the most like clean pitch deck ever, and I'm gonna get my shit together and present this pitch like it's the back of my hand. Mm-hmm. And I started off with the first one. I remember it. It was for $1,000. I had practiced every single night, every single time I was walking home from class. And I go there, crushed the pitch, and I ended up taking last. And this girl that won was like a sweatshirt company. And it was like my first, like, what do you want to, like, disappointment almost. You know,
that was your first disappointment. You lived a pretty good life up to 18, but like 19.
Disappointment of like, wow, I crushed it. You know, I have all this time and money invested in this, and this girl with the sweatshirt idea that has like $1,000 in sales. I think that's why she did it, or that's why she won, is because she actually proven sales. I didn't have any sales. I just had a cool idea. Mm-hmm. So she wins it, and it was like my first big disappointment of like, why didn't I win that? Call my dad, just like bawling on the way home. I'm like, just like pissed inside, go home and get back to work. Like literally revised what I did wrong, took what she did and made it even better. But I continued to do these pitch competitions over the summer, every weekend, every month, while everybody else is partying. Okay. And this is like sophomore year of college, like prime time of like building your friend group. Mm-hmm. Like you gotta go to these frat parties and do all this shit. And I was inside studying or practicing my pitch. So long story short, with that, continued to do pitch competitions throughout all sophomore year, and ended up winning one called the Culver's Business Pitch Competition. So Craig Culver of Culver's holds one for $25,000. The winner gets winner gets $10,000. Then the next gets like 7.5, next gets 5, whatever it was. I went there and killed the pitch, like crushed it. Probably 100, 150 people in the stands. Like it's nerve-wracking going in front of those people, but like when you present something so many times, it's like ingrained in your head.
Yeah.
Ended up winning the $10,000. This was a huge like pivotal point in my like business knowledge career, I guess you could say. Okay. Won the pitch competition, and 3 of the 5 judges contacted me after to invest $150,000 in the business. This is end of sophomore year, 19 years old, maybe. No, 20. I don't know. Okay. 19, 20-ish. Yeah. And getting an investment from like 3 notable investors in the Wisconsin area for $150,000. So like right there,
that's pretty big.
Even just the knowledge behind it. You learn about different business formations. Like we had to go from an LLC to a C Corp, a Delaware C Corp to better taxes. Like there's something called the Wisconsin WEDC. There's like tax credits you can get when you take investments. There's I learned about like the investment structure of breaking down equity. So I owned 100%. Now taking on their money, I only owned 75%. They got 10, he got 5, he got 6, whatever it is. But you learn all this shit that's like invaluable. Yeah. You know, like you can get taught that in class, and
it doesn't really make sense until you actually do it. Yeah, or actually, it's actually presented to you.
Exactly, just like anything, you know. Yeah. And it really hits hard when you lose all their money. Yeah. You know, so that's kind of like, so you get $150,000 or whatever from these 3 investors. And again, so I have a note on here that I actually do want to point out that whole like side of the investment thing isn't a brag. So what it is like, it's I want to use that to show that like you can truly get anything, or pivotal changes can be made in your life when you simply put the work in over and over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like when you are in the trenches and you're doing all this work and you literally see no returns, that's when you have to continue to go every single day. And you probably know it with all your video stuff. All those videos that you edited, that you thrown away, that you didn't do it, crafted your skill and your knowledge to be able to be the wizard that you are today.
Yeah, I think that is pretty much the like epitome of learning. If you want to learn the fastest and quickest, the best way to do it is to get the experience. And regardless of if it's good experience or bad experience, it all adds up and like just pays back like dividends in like huge sums, right? Like you learn what not to do, or you learn that like, you know, I mean, there are videos that I've done that it's like, yeah, it's really cool, but it's supposed to do this. Like it's supposed to get a different message across. It's like, okay, so like you can't do it that way. You know, it's just like you just learn from experience. And the fastest way, I honestly think, is if you fail, you can read all the books you want about it. You know, you can go out and actually try it, but until you put it into practice, I don't think you ever really know.
Exactly. But like it's such a simple concept, but people want this like get rich quick trick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like that's really why I want to emphasize the pre-coming to Vyper, because there's so much shit that happened that has been so beneficial for Vyper's quick growth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where if this would have been our first business, it probably would have failed.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would have been like all these other ones that we didn't know, that you don't know how to run a business, you don't know anything with it. But so then we got this investment of $150,000, and another notable thing with that also is I treated it like my own money. So I want to touch base on taking investments in your company, or thinking that your company needs investments at an early stage, because more than likely it doesn't. What it needs is you to put your boots down on the ground and get to work. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have all the money to do the things that you want to do, and that might be your answer right there. If you don't have the money to do it, maybe you shouldn't do it, or you're not ready yet. Thinking that you get all this investment money from outside capital and you're giving up equity for your business, now you have this big sum of cash that you have no idea how to spend because you've never had it before.
So you could potentially allocate it into the wrong spots, or, you know, pour it into like app dev and have nothing left for marketing.
Exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Exactly what I did. So I got $150,000 from these outside investors, and I was pumping it into things that I thought I needed.
Mm-hmm.
But what I needed was for me to take a step back and brainstorm a game plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all that $150,000 lasted, I'd say, over a year and a half maybe, and majority of it went to app dev.
Okay.
Changing up an app that was never released.
Yep.
Oh, this is good, but I kind of want to tweak it here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, if I would have just taken a step back and figured out what I truly wanted out of the business, I wouldn't have spent so much money on app dev, or I would have took a different approach. Like, I look at, if I didn't have that money, how would I have made that business evolve? Is I would have found some college kid that knew how to dev and team up with him.
Yeah.
And have him build a prototype for me.
So, okay, I have a couple questions going forward. So there's a really common concept in, like, especially in the dev world, called like minimal viable product, mm-hmm. which is basically you have the base idea and you release it before like it's a finished product. Like, was that a thing when you were doing it?
They beat that to death. And so I took something called G Beta. It's actually a really cool course in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And G Beta is pretty much like your pre-investment stage, where they teach you the lines of business, mm-hmm. what you should do, what you shouldn't do, how to set up your business plan, et cetera, et cetera. And that was their number one thing that I love that they beat to death, was building out an MVP. Because everybody, like I said, wants to get this investment, wants to build this product that they haven't even tested yet.
Yep.
And they build it out, they waste all this money, and nobody wants it.
Yeah.
So now you're in the hole, and you have a product that nobody wants, and a company that's out of cash.
So how does that? So that is I think it's a fairly new concept in business, is like an MVP, right? Because if we go back further in like the American timeline, especially American, we're American, that's where we're from. You see a lot of companies who develop stuff, and like air fryers. Like somebody came up with an air fryer first and was like, all right, this is going to market, like how do those two ideas compete versus like a physical product like we offer, at Vyper, versus like an MVP where it's like we can't just offer somebody a nicer seat to add to a shitty chair, right? Like we have to offer them a full product. So how do those two competing ideas, before we continue with this, sort of, how do you balance those two competing ideas when designing a business or designing a product? So
an MVP can be physical, so like I take, like, look at what we're doing with the Low Pro right now. Mm-hmm. That's an MVP.
Okay.
It's not something we're selling to the masses yet, but that's our internal use of research and development. We made it. It's not the spec. It's not the par. We particle coded it ourselves. Like, that's our MVP. So in the app world, an MVP would be, how do you make the cheapest workable product and have people test it,
Okay, so
without spending all this cash on it.
To sort of give some insight into Vyper, you could say, so not just the Low Pro. The Low Pro is a fully fledged product that is like a staple in our line at this point. But you could say the robust steel light, back when Vyper started, was one of the first models that no longer exists on our line anymore. You can't buy parts for it. You can maybe buy a seat. I wasn't even around then, right? So it's like I've seen the models on old websites or on pictures, like buried way within our Google Drive. And it's like, so like that in essence is a minimal viable product, even though it is a physical product that was invented, sort of, not necessarily to bring to market, but
that one was just a bad product.
Yeah.
that one I don't think we built an MVP for and tested it how we should have.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that one was like, we brought, like, what we launched was our MVP.
Okay.
So
yeah. But so the robust steel light was an MVP for sure.
It was a MVP and a product that we launched.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't have been.
But again, like you learn, you take that minimal viable product, the one that it works. The ideas were there. The big casters were there. The steel ring was there. The thick seat, like all that stuff is there in bare bones.
Right.
But then you guys took it and built it out. I mean, that chair today looks nothing like what it looked like when you guys started.
Exactly.
I mean, from top to bottom. I mean, the quality today is significantly further, and that's actually something I'd love to go into, how you go about increasing like product quality over time. But
absolutely. But expanding off that and kind of going back to like the investment side of things too. If you're just starting out, I know this is a big trend in today's society, is go and get money, go and get funds, raise your first seed round. So seed round, so it goes seed, then like Series A, Series B, Series C, etc. And it just, the amount keeps increasing. So everybody wants to go and raise like a seed round like I did, and I'm speaking on behalf of this from experience. You don't need money right away. And if you get money right away, you don't know how to spend it. Thankfully, I was raised in a way, and I had that first failure of losing my dad's body to this, where I knew how to spend money now. And I treated their money wholeheartedly as if it was mine.
Okay.
And stretching that $150K out over a year and a half is pretty good, especially in app dev, where typical app projects go for $150K starting just to get like a version built. So like being able to piece that together while traveling on top of that, while using the money for buying a website and other business expenses, a year and a half isn't bad for $150K. Unfortunately, yes, it was lost, but like the amount of information and knowledge that was learned throughout that period is probably worth millions, if not more. So if you're starting out, I highly recommend that you don't get money and don't give up equity in your business that you haven't even launched a product to yet because you don't know if it's going to work. Find a buddy that knows how to develop something. Find an engineer that you know that could build something out for you. You go to the local hardware store and piece something together. Get a prototype made for the cheapest amount of money and get feedback on it before you go and raise any money. Because last thing I want you guys to do is go and raise $150, $200, $1 million and lose it all on a product that you don't even know what you're doing.
Pretty bad.
And it happens every day though. And you'll spend all this money on things that you think you need, but you don't need. And you're just spending it on things that society is telling you that you need to do. What you need to do is put your fucking boots down and find out how to do it for the cheapest way to start. Mm-hmm. Because what that's going to teach you is truly throughout the duration of your business is, do I really need it? Or is it a temporary thing that is shining in front of me? That I use almost every day with Dylan, of buying new machinery, buying more equipment. Is this a temporary thing that we want now? Or can this wait till 6 months or maybe a year? Mm-hmm. Because now we're not spending somebody else's money. This is our money. Not only that, but if we spend this money, is that putting your job in jeopardy? Is that putting everybody else's job in jeopardy? And without having that knowledge, if we had $1 million of investment, we would spend it like it wasn't ours.
Yeah.
And now we're putting everybody in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So you probably don't need money. What you need is for you to put your head down and figure your shit out.
And work a little harder. Yeah.
And work a little harder and do your research. You know?
Damn. Yeah. So I think all that is exceptionally important info, you know. I know I have heard you say it time and again where, like, we've had discussions on long car rides where you're like, you know, I wouldn't take capital again, like, in order to expand. And I think it's something that I respect a lot because it sort of takes, like, your vision and, like, distills it. And granted, you might be able to advance the timeline a little bit quicker or whatnot, but you also might not be. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, all of a sudden you're, like, you know, the cart's in front of the horse and
right.
There's no way to stop it on the way down the hill. So.
Right. And now you have a group of investments or investors that are breathing down your neck. Sam, when is this coming? Sam, how'd that product launch go? Mm-hmm. Sam, when am I going to see my returns? Hey, can you update me? Like, they're ruthless, and I don't blame them because that's their money.
Yeah.
These guys worked their entire life to build this portfolio of cash, and now they're giving it to you in hopes that you're going to return 4, 5, 6x. If you lose their money, that sucks. Mm-hmm. And you go to bed with that every single night, and it blows. And I know because I do it. But no, it's like, honestly, those 3 investors, if they ever do listen to this, like that, I told you many times, that is my goal in life, is whether they're dead or alive, is to pay those families back what they gave me in that beginning. Because like I said, that money and those opportunities are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. But like, just to give a timeline and probably wrap this up because we're over 30 minutes, is this was like this whole span, I would say now we're about like middle of junior year in college.
Okay.
First business share failed. Mm-hmm. Kind of re-picked back up in college on top of going for a finance degree in IT.
Yep.
Instead of going and partying with my friends, it was working day and night on this little side hustle, learning how to build a website, learning how to do SEO, learning about Google, learning about writing a business plan, speaking to investors, like learning about the diversity and breakdown of a corporation, how to divvy up taxes. You have your bylaws for a corporation. Like, I knew this shit in sophomore year. Some people don't know this stuff when they have a business. Mm-hmm. And it's like that information I was forced to learn because you have investors sitting here, I'll give you your money, but you need to learn this stuff right now. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, I'll do it. So you have all this temptation from your friends in college being like, hey man, we're going out. Hey, all these girls want to meet. Hey, there's a big party at this frat house. Hey, let's go do. It's like, bro, you guys went out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Like, I don't have money for this. 2, I don't want to do this the rest of my life. So I just like literally stuck my head into a tunnel and just went.
Yeah. I think so. I think every episode I'd like to end on just like a piece of advice that, like a tangible piece of advice that somebody could use, like today or tomorrow. Like, sure, today was a shit day, right? Let's take this piece of advice and bring it into tomorrow. What is a piece of advice? So if we rewind the clock, okay, you wake up, that 150K is gone, right? You feel like shit. You wake up one morning and you're like, fuck, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, let that sink in, okay?
Well, that morning happened over a year and a half because I could feel it.
Okay, so, but no, okay, so let's say, right, like anyone, so they've failed at every other previous project before, right? Or maybe they haven't failed, but they ended up, it was a draw.
Right.
You wake up tomorrow morning, want to get a hustle, you want to go and do something to make your life better, to make your family's life better, to make your kids' life better, your future better. What is one thing you would say right now? Wake up tomorrow and just start. Like,
first thing I would do, if you have any apologies to be made, make them. Clear your past, which will allow you to move freely in the future. And my example with that is if I were to wake up at that time and what happened was lost the money, unfortunately, I sat all three of them down and had a meeting. And it was probably one of the most painstaking, most difficult things I've ever had to do in my life is to tell somebody, hey, all that money you gave me, that you believed in me, I lost it. But I'm so sorry for it. And like you guys, I thank them for the opportunity. So first, clear your past. If you have anything holding you back for the future, if you have, I was raised bad, hey, I had this going on, you have to burn your past. And I highly recommend you listen to Erwin McManus because he talks a lot about that. Is in order for you to succeed in your future, you have to eliminate your past.
I'm going to agree with that.
You do.
Yeah,
you have to.
time.
100%. So that would be my suggestion and leading point is if you don't burn it, you will always carry that burden or whatever burden you make it in the future, which will prevent you from getting anywhere. Or it's going to be very difficult.
And it's, especially if you know the people have forgiven you, even if like if a person has passed on or whatever, like if the situation doesn't exist out there in the real world anymore, right? Like it's still so important for you to like, do something symbolic, lay some flowers or throw a fucking rock off a cliff, like whatever it might be, and just say like, from this point on, it changes.
Yeah.
Right? And I honestly think that's probably one of the most powerful things that you can do in order to move forward is to forgive your past, get over whatever it was, even if it takes a day, if it takes a week, whatever it is, but say at the end of this period of time, I forgive myself, I forgive anyone who's wronged me. From this point forward, I'm a new man, I'm a new woman. I have things I want to achieve, and it's time to get started.
Yeah. And in one of the books that I listen to every morning, it says, for those that treat you with hate today, we'll give you $1 million tomorrow. And it's the same thing, and you have to treat them with respect. So if somebody's just a dick to you today, you got to give them all the respect as if they didn't treat you like a dick yesterday. Shake it off. Yesterday is in the is it in the past? Let the past be dead. Literally. But like everybody's gone through hard shit. Everybody has their own story. What's the cliche saying? Is everybody's dealt their own hand. And it's so cliche, but it's true. Like, don't try to make your life or your past situations worse than somebody else's or compare my past versus yours.
Yeah.
Like, dude, everybody is dealt a different hand, and you have to take whatever you are given. Either you can hold on to it the rest of your life and, oh, pity me, or you can get rid of it and burn it in the past and create something for your future. Like, one of my favorite stories are when people talk about like immigrants coming over here from like Europe and stuff and creating a name for themselves and having nothing, literally nothing.
Yeah.
Like they have them and their 10 brothers in an apartment room with their mom, their dad left them, and they end up making this multi-million-dollar business.
Yeah.
Okay. They look at what they went through.
Seriously.
Like what's your excuse?
They could have chosen anything.
What's your excuse? It's just what you shared today on Instagram. What was it like?
Yeah, so I listened to a book on tape because I enjoy doing it. Into Thin Air. So it's a story about journeying up to Mount Everest to reach the summit, and man, it's a sad story. It was like in the early '90s, and some like a third of the hikers basically died, right? And hearing the story about like how he's radioing back, oh yeah, it's all good, I'll be back in the morning, and like. Yeah, it's a little cold. I lost feeling in my fingertips, and it's like, fuck, dude. Like, I'm like happy that I'm warm. I'm happy that we have electricity and that I can plug my phone into a wall and like get lost in entertainment for a while. Like,
right.
Like all that's, dude.
You have a bed to sleep in.
Gratitude, big time, man.
You have a roof over your head. You have every morning I pray for this stuff. I'm like, we have fingers. Bro, imagine losing a finger.
I know.
Or like a toe. Like, I know it sounds so small, but like, dude, that would affect a ton.
It would.
So it's like, you have everything. What is there to be? Obviously, of course, you have things that go out of your life. Like, some days you're in a good mood, some days you're in a bad mood, but like, still, be
and
thankful.
You're allowed to be, but.
Right. And appreciative every single day.
Yes.
And just eliminate your past because you're alive today. If life was so bad, you'd be dead. Mm-hmm. Or you're going to make yourself dead by dreading the past.
Yeah.
So that would be my, obviously, long story short, like that would be my takeaway is if you want to create anything for yourself, if you want to create a name for yourself, and you had a bad upbringing or you have a past that was not the greatest, and if you carry that, you will not go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be a doubter. I don't want to be pointing fingers, but you're going to make it very difficult for yourself to get anywhere in life. You're going to play victim card. This happened to me. I can't do this. I can't do that. You're the one making excuses with those I can'ts. And this happened to me. That's why I can't do this.
Yeah.
Burn it. Get rid of it. You're alive. Wake up the next day.
Get it done and get it out of here.
To end it, burn your past. Today's a new day.
Get started.
Get started.
Fuck yeah.
This show was brought to you by Vyper Energy.
Look right over at that camera.
Vyper Energy is an all-natural energy drink branded under the Vyper brand. We are launching this on May 17th, 2023. So the difference of Vyper Energy versus the plethora of other energy drinks out there is this doesn't contain garbage. You have Prime Energy, Red Bull, Monster, Bang, Ghost Energy that everybody loves. They all have artificial ingredients, every single one of them. They have sucralose, Ace K, they have sodium benzoate. All those ingredients are artificial and preservatives, and they are terrible for you. Even Celsius. Celsius has preservatives and artificial flavors also. Vyper Energy does not. It has all essential amino acids. It has vitamin C's, vitamin B's, vitamin D's, magnesium, zinc, and it has L-theanine, which is a nootropic. When you mix that with caffeine, you are absolutely dialed. Vyper Energy coming May 17th, 2023. Limited supply in the first run, so get yours while you can.